When your cat sleeps with you, do you actually know what they're trying to say? Yes, it's adorable. A warm little body curled beside you. Maybe a soft purr as you drift off. But behind that closeness, there's something deeper that most people miss. Sleeping beside you is one of the most emotionally vulnerable things your cat can do. And if you misunderstand it, which most owners do, you might be missing messages your cat has been trying to send for years. Because that nightly ritual isn't random, it's communication. Let's start with what sleeping with you really means. It was never about warmth. Have you ever wondered why your cat chooses your bed when there are dozens of other warm places in your house? Most people assume it's simple. You're warm. Cats like warmth. End of story. But here's what's actually happening. Cats are incredibly resourceful when it comes to finding heat. They can sleep in sunbeams, on laptops, near radiators, inside laundry baskets fresh from the dryer. Warmth is not a scarce resource for them, so if warmth was the only reason, they wouldn't keep choosing the same place every night. Here's what most people don't realize. Sleep is when a cat is at their most defenseless. In the wild, a sleeping cat is vulnerable to predators, rival cats, and sudden threats. Every survival instinct tells them to hide somewhere secluded and protected. Yet your cat walks past the quiet corners of your home, jumps onto your bed, and falls asleep beside a creature 15 times their size. Think about that for a second. That's not convenience, that's trust. And by the way, if your cat ever suddenly stops sleeping with you after doing it for years, don't brush it off. We'll get to what that can mean later in the video, and it's something many owners wish they had understood sooner, because this behavior is far more meaningful than it seems. Your cat sees you as a safe base. Have you ever noticed how your cat can be completely relaxed when sleeping beside you? Their breathing slows, their muscles soften. Sometimes they even roll onto their side or back. That level of relaxation doesn't happen easily for cats. Most people assume cats are naturally independent creatures who don't form deep emotional attachments. But here's what's actually happening. A landmark 2019 study from Oregon State University, studying feline attachment, found that cats form secure attachment bonds with their owners, similar to the way infants bond with caregivers. Researchers observed that cats use their owners as what psychologists call a secure base, a safe presence that allows them to relax, explore, and recover from stress. And when a cat sleeps beside you, that bond becomes even more visible, because sleep requires absolute confidence that nothing bad will happen. Your cat isn't just resting, they're trusting you with their safety. What makes this even more meaningful is that cats are extremely sensitive to threats in their environment. Their hearing, smell, and instincts constantly scan for danger. So when your cat sleeps next to you, they're doing something powerful. They're outsourcing their vigilance. They're saying without words, "While I sleep, I trust you to keep watch." And that kind of emotional surrender only happens when a cat feels completely secure with someone. They're blending their scent with yours. Have you ever noticed your cat rubbing their head against you before settling down for the night? Maybe they press their cheek against your arm, or circle your body before lying down. Most people think that's just affectionate behavior. But here's what's actually happening. Cats have scent glands along their cheeks, forehead, and the base of their tail. When they rub against you, they're depositing pheromones, chemical signals invisible to us, but extremely meaningful to them. And when your cat sleeps pressed against you, those scents mix together. Researchers who study feline social behavior call this scent sharing in wild cat colonies. Individuals who belong to the same group share a communal scent. It's how they recognize family. It's how they identify who belongs. So when your cat blends their scent with yours night after night, they're doing something ancient. They're creating a shared identity. Think about that. Your cat isn't just marking territory. They're marking belonging. This is also why your cat might sniff you intensely when you come home from somewhere new. Your smell has changed. The shared scent has faded, and bedtime becomes the moment they restore it. To your cat, sleeping beside you is like renewing a quiet contract every night. You belong together. And hey, if this makes sense to you, hit like and subscribe. It helps us reach more cat lovers who actually want to understand what their cat is really saying. It comes from kittenhood. Have you ever noticed how kittens pile together when they sleep? They don't spread out across the room. They gather in tight little clusters. Most people think that's just because they're small and cold, but here's what's actually happening. In the earliest weeks of life, kittens sleep pressed against their mother and siblings. That closeness regulates their body temperature, heartbeat, and stress levels. behavioral scientists studying feline development have found that this early physical contact shapes how cats experience safety for the rest of their lives. Contact equals comfort. Warmth equals protection. And here's where it gets powerful. When an adult cat chooses to sleep pressed against you, they're tapping into that same instinct. Your presence activates the same emotional system that once told them they were safe with their mother, not because they see you as their mother, but because their brain associates closeness during sleep with protection and belonging. So when your cat curls against your chest or tucks against your legs, it's not random. It's an ancient memory playing out in a modern home, and you've become part of that instinctive circle of safety. They're choosing you specifically. Here's something most cat owners overlook. Cats don't sleep with everyone. Even in homes with multiple people, many cats consistently choose the same individual night after night. Have you ever wondered why? Most people assume it's just habit, but here's what's actually happening. Cats are extremely selective with vulnerability. They evaluate subtle cues constantly: tone of voice, movement patterns, emotional energy. Over time, they learn which humans feel predictable and calm, and those humans become safe sleep partners. Studies on feline social preference have shown that cats gravitate toward individuals who respond consistently to their signals. People who respect boundaries. People who don't force interaction. In other words, the human who makes them feel emotionally understood. So when your cat walks past other people in the house and climbs into bed with you, that's not random. That's a decision. They've chosen you as the safest person in their environment. Think about that for a moment. In your cat's mind, you're not just the person who feeds them. You're the person they trust with their vulnerability. Sleeping beside you is a survival risk. Here's the part most owners never realize. When your cat sleeps beside you, they're doing something that goes against thousands of years of survival instinct. In nature, animals that sleep near larger creatures risk being crushed, attacked, or startled awake. Wild cats avoid unpredictable partners during sleep because sudden movement can mean danger. But your cat ignores that instinct. When they climb into your bed, here's what's actually happening. Your cat has learned something extraordinary about you. You are predictable. You move in ways they understand. You breathe in a rhythm they recognize. Your presence has become part of their mental map of safety. So they override a deeply wired instinct. They accept vulnerability just to stay close. Think about that for a second. Your cat is choosing emotional comfort over evolutionary caution. That's not convenience. That's devotion. And that small sleeping ritual every night is actually a quiet act of trust. When that habit suddenly stops. Remember earlier when I said if your cat suddenly stops sleeping with you, it might mean something important? This is what I was talking about. Cats are creatures of patterns. Once they choose a sleeping partner, that routine often continues for years. So if your cat suddenly stops coming to bed, it's worth paying attention. Sometimes the reason is simple: a seasonal change in temperature, a new sleeping spot they've discovered. But other times the shift is emotional or physical. Behavioral studies show that changes in sleeping behavior can sometimes signal stress, discomfort, or early health issues. Cats often withdraw from close contact when they're not feeling well, and because cats hide weakness instinctively, this may be one of the first visible signs. So if your cat stops sleeping beside you, don't panic, but don't ignore it either. Watch for other changes: eating habits, grooming patterns, activity levels. Your cat may be quietly asking for help in the only way they know how. So when your cat sleeps beside you, do you know what they're really saying? They're not just staying warm. They're not just looking for a comfortable spot. They're doing something far more meaningful. They're trusting you with their safety. They're blending their scent with yours. They're choosing you as the safest place in their world. And when a cat, an animal built entirely on instinct and caution, falls asleep beside you completely relaxed, that's not just a cute habit. That's trust, deep, instinct-level trust. And that quiet little moment every night, when they curl up next to you and close their eyes, it was never small to them, and it shouldn't be small to you either.